music industry is reinventing itself. David Lowery doesn't look like one, but he's a big star. He's the lead singer in Cracker and Camper Beethoven. And David believes that the old music industry 1.0, with music labels and limousines and all the things that everyone knew and seems to despise, was actually a better deal for musicians than today's music industry 2.0, with self-promoting marketing platforms on Twitter and Facebook. So David, welcome to TechCrunch TV.
Hey, how's it going? Good.
Now you're a star, but you're also a renegade, David. What's going on here?
Well, you sort of, I mean, what you explained is essentially a bit of hyperbole that I created.
I'm not someone who ever deals in hyperbole.
No, yes, but I understand that. And what I did is we've had a long discussion over the last 12 years about how the digital, the new digital music distribution model works or doesn't work.
And that is indeed not an exaggeration. We've all been talking about this the last 12 years. Right?
Yeah, and just the last few years, I was always a believer that with disintermediation, essentially artists would get a greater share of revenue. And I was a strong proponent of like giving away stuff free on your website, streaming, making videos, putting them on YouTube, even when they weren't singles. I was an independent record label operator and stuff like that. But the last few years, I've been waiting for that extra revenue to show up in artists' pockets. And I think when you look at aggregately at the entire music business, the new digital distribution model, what it comes out to is actually artists get less. And I wasn't looking for that, but it's just what I've concluded after the last few years wondering where that money was, where it was going. And I can point to several things. First of all, digital file sharing. We all know that, piracy. It's almost an old story.
And you're not going to defend that?
I'm not going to defend digital piracy? Well, I think everybody has, I mean, if people want to give it away, they can give it away, but you don't, why wouldn't you just give it away off your own website instead of off of somebody else's website and make somebody else rich?
With David, we're in San Francisco, and about 50 miles north, there's a guy called Tim O'Reilly who runs O'Reilly Media, and Tim very famously has said, and specifically said, I think a couple of weeks ago, that he thinks from a creative's point of view, piracy is a good thing, because the more people steal, the more they buy.
I would like to see his data on that, because I actually believed that at one time, but I think the data is opposite, and I have data.
Good.
Okay.
Data man, tell us more.
Okay, well, what it is just, I started looking at the records of two studios, two studio complexes.
Which ones?
One in Richmond, Virginia, and one in Athens, Georgia, and they have records that go back about 20 years, and just browsing the data, it looks like artists are spending a lot less on recordings, and on actually making their recordings. If artists were getting more per artist, that you would see that expressed there, right? The other thing is just more anecdotally, when you talk to people, like for instance, my wife is a concert promoter, and I've just been informally polling people. It's like, did you make enough money on your last, did you make enough money off of selling your last recording to pay for the recording expenses? And it's 100% no right now. So where is the money going? And here's where the money's going, okay? One, basically the digital distribution system has created very large, efficient digital distributors, iTunes and Amazon. They don't deal in physical products and stuff like that, but they actually take 30% of gross. Never before in the history of music business has anybody ever taken 30% of gross and not funded the content creation, not supplied capital or done some sort of risk aggregation or risk management. Never before have we had that. And I think that's one of the problems. The second problem is that streaming media actually does cannibalize sales. Now look, I'm not saying that we should go back to the old world. I'm just pointing out that content creators across the board, whether it's photography, music, or arts, it looks like they're getting the shaft. And I think if we start now and we start to address this and figure that out, it's going to be better for all of us. I think everybody in the tech music space, one of the things is they need artists to actually have money. They need managers actually to have money, and they need record labels to actually have money to buy their services and products. And so that's what I'm seeing, and that's where I started out.
David, sounds like there's a book there.
Could be a book, yes.
How the Internet's killing our culture.
Well, I don't know if it's killing our culture, but it is making it a lot harder to make money from producing, like, for instance, music and film and photography and stuff like that, that normally you would make more money doing it.
So let's accept your premise is right. Let's say that you are correct.
Well, nobody else has any data. I mean, I'd love to be wrong, but nobody can show me the data.
Well, let's say you're right and your data is correct, and it reveals a fundamental truth, that the musical artist was better off under the old regime than in this revolutionary age. What has to happen to improve things? What would you like to see change?
Okay. I think that streaming has to pay a higher rate.
You mean like Amazon?
One of the things, because that's where it's going.
Need to give more back to the artist.
I think well no, like actual streaming, because I think a lot of music is people aren't going to own a lot of music.
You mean on the Spotify business?
Yeah, the Spotify and stuff like that. I mean, I didn't come up with this. I just read this. I don't know if it's actually true. It's probably about true that you would have to have like well over 1 million spins a week to earn minimum wage on Spotify.
What's minimum wage?
If minimum wage, like making $7 an hour, whatever it is in California or whatever like that. If you would have to have like the equivalent of working a 40-hour week at minimum wage, you would have to have millions of spins on Spotify.
1 million or several million?
Over 1 million. I didn't see the number. I thought I saw something that like that $1.5 million was $160. Don't quote me on that, but I know it's really low. It doesn't. You'd have to spend millions of times to make a minimum wage. Okay, that was just. But I know it's. I mean, it's literally like, I know Pandora is somewhere around 0.0021 cents per spin.
But if we had someone from Spotify or Pandora here, they might argue that they can't afford to pay.
I know. Well, then it's a bad business model. It's not my fault.
So what has to change?
As a content creator, why can't I just put the music on my own website? Why can't we all artists just put our music on our own websites and, like, you know, that's what we do. I just completely stream from our website any of our songs, but we ask people to just give us your email address. Seems a fair deal. And then actually I own my own audience, and I can, you know, I can do with those what I want.
But you have to moonlight as a professor at the University of Georgia, right?
Well, that's true, but that's partly my choice, but yes.
I hope you're earning more than minimum wage there.
I do earn more than minimum wage there, yes. It's a nice university, so.
So you've given up on the industry, David, have you?
No, I still play, but no, it's difficult. I mean, it's really difficult. I mean, I have platinum records. I have platinum records as producer. I had a studio complex. I've just been involved in the business for a long time, but what I'm actually doing over at University of Georgia is essentially kind of becoming a rock economist over there. I'm teaching in the music business program, and I'm looking at things like this.
I love the idea
fascinates me.
A rock economist.
Okay.
And if it does die, what will we most lose?
What, if the music industry dies? Well, it'll never die, because everybody will do it just like I will just do it. I can't help it. I wake up in the morning, if I want to write a song or record a song, I do it. But I think it's just fair. It's kind of unfair. It's a point of fairness. If we can create giant companies and millionaires like, you know, Kim.com, Mega Upload or something like that off of distributing music, why can't the artist share in it? Why does the artist have to like only make, say, minimum wage if they're getting millions of spins from streaming?
On Facebook?
I mean, that's what's that?
And what about Facebook and its $100 billion IPO? Is that connected with the crisis of the rock industry too?
I don't really know, but a good part of what people share on Facebook are, for instance, YouTube videos. We are part of the content that makes people go on the web. We are part of the content that makes people want to have a high-speed internet connection. We are part of the reason that the web industry exists. And I think to just say, hey, well, you'll be famous. You'll get 64 million views on YouTube or something like that. And you'll be famous. Maybe you'll get a reality television show. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair enough. And I'm somebody who came from the tech, a free side of things, and I've just changed my mind.
Well, David Lowery, rock star and rock economist, I think you better hide now because you're going to get stoned by the digital crowd.
Yeah, okay.
Tim O'Reilly and his baying mob will come after you.
Right.
So I'm going to let you go now, and I want to thank you so much for appearing on TechCrunch TV.
No problem, thank you.
Good job. Wasn't he good? Who is going to save the music industry? That has been a question that people have asked now for 15 or 20 years. First of all, it was AOL, and it was Netscape, MySpace, Facebook. Many have been called, but none have been chosen. Now there's a new player, a new salvation to the music industry, and that is Twitter. And I have with me not the CEO of Twitter, but the founder of the Monstro, Jeff Fedor.
Fedor, very good.
And Jeff has a startup called the Monstro, a music startup, which, in his view at least, will be using Twitter to save the music industry.
That's correct.
Jeff, welcome to TechCrunch TV.
Thank you for having me.
So Twitter, what's that?
What's Twitter? So Twitter is a communication medium that people can share very simple updates about what's going on in their life. It's incited revolutions. It's allowed people to connect in different ways in different regions, all through short 140-character messages.
I can't imagine many people are on that, are they?
Just a few, I think approaching 1 billion now.
Wow, I should get on it myself. Jeff, how are you using Twitter to save the music industry?
So what we're doing is we are collecting all the tweets about music on Twitter. We're then taking those tweets and putting them in a form that's actionable. So when the tweet comes across, it's not just about Rope by the Foo Fighters. It has a collection of metadata around it. So it allows you to do a preview of it, allows you to see who's shared it, and see how it fits into your own social context.
So you are curating Twitter content or
well,
bulking it up?
We're collecting it. People are already curating Twitter content. So what we're doing is we're putting it in a form that's both searchable and discoverable. And then once you have that, we generate playlists for you automatically. So I can go and I can see what my friends have shared, and I can stream it right on RDO, and they can build playlists for me automatically.
Oh, I see. So it's a social search engine.
Basically, yeah.
So it reflects what your network is listening to.
Right. There's 3 things you can do on our site. You can search and discover music, so you can actually search through catalogs. And it's not like a Google search that'll go through and search torrents or anything else like that. It's contained to catalogs like iTunes, RDO, Spotify, YouTube. And then you can discover music and see what's trending right now. So last night when the Grammys were on, there's a really interesting phenomenon going on. For example, the Willie Nelson commercial that happened, instantly Willie Nelson was trending on Twitter, which probably hasn't happened in a long time. And then you could take it and grab the Grammy playlist that effectively was this sort of cultural pulse of what was going on in music, and I can play that playlist right in RDO for me.
Jeff, what happens if you don't like the people you follow on Twitter?
Perfect. We built that feature because I do have that situation. So there's something called Tune Out on our site. So you can still get, there might be somebody I follow for political insight, but I don't like their music taste, so I can tune them out on our site. I can still get their tweets, but I don't get their music.
Are you essentially then a social magazine, a social music magazine?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it.
But you're not paying for content?
We're not paying for content, but we're connecting people to sources that artists actually make revenue from. So we're not streaming live in a way that we allow people to upload content to our site illegally. We direct you always to a place where an artist will collect some revenue, or ideally you'll purchase the track or a collection of tracks from our site through iTunes or Amazon.
Jeff, do you think that the professional music reviewer, the music critic, is dead, replaced by Twitter?
No, I think that Twitter is a way for people to augment that. But I think there are unexpected tastemakers in the world that Twitter does give a voice to that maybe doesn't have a column on that site.
What has happened to musical taste? How is this revolution in taste changing the nature of the industry?
So musical taste now is in a way that I think you can have very highly specific genres and subgenres and collection of genres based on the people that you follow or individuals. So there's people that I follow on Monstro that I simply don't follow on Twitter because they speak foreign languages that I can't understand. but I can get their individual collection and curation of playlists that wouldn't normally happen. So musical tastes right now are really at the point that it's so highly tuned and so specific that it blurs across genre lines and it blurs across geographic boundaries that wouldn't happen. I don't have to worry about, is there a radio station I can tune into? I can follow somebody.
So Jeff, tell me more about the company. When was it founded? What kind of funding you have? How many people work for it?
Sure. So we were founded in 2008, sort of as
prehistoric. You're 4 years old. Well, still alive.
Still alive. We started out with a simple idea of making iTunes playlists available on any device.
This was pre-Twitter.
This was pre-Twitter. Well, right, Twitter was out, but
right.
we had, and then we added a bunch of social integration that let us see what other people were sharing on multiple services, and then got to the point now where we work and have a full Twitter feed, and are at the point where we can.
So you've pivoted.
We've pivoted.
Well, perhaps we need to invent a new word. Well, twivot. Combining Twitter and pivot, like so many other companies. So are you self-funded? Have you got angel money?
We have some, we did a Series A round, and then... so
when was that?
A year and a half ago. And then we're just 5 people, and we're in Louisville, Kentucky, so hence our bourbon bar later.
And Jeff, the billion or at least $1 million question, what's your business model? How are you going to make money out of this?
Our business model is, at the very basis, there's an affiliate model, so anytime anyone signs up to an RDO subscription or purchases music through our site, we get a small royalty payment from there. The bigger plays are really around data and advertising on the site. So
data and advertising. Well, you may be from Kentucky, but I'm sure you know that privacy has become a significant issue. How do you play into that debate?
Our basis is that we won't singly identify a user. We collect it across genres, we collect it across artists, but we're not about saying that person A is a big fan of X and we're going to serve you an ad that way. It's more around the musical genre and the trend of that music at the time. That's how we're selling it.
So your sell to advertisers is that you know more about the user's musical taste than they do?
Correct, or we know more about what's going on culturally right now, that you don't have to pick a song to be the basis of your advertising. You can pick a trend and you can basically advertise on that trend.
Is the model replicable across verticals? Would it work equally well in movies or books or newspapers or entertainment?
In theory, yeah, it would work. I mean, music is such a personal thing. I think far more than a movie. A movie you watch and you might watch it again, but it has a limited shelf life. Music, people tend to go back to the same music over and over again. That's where I think music is a different genre. And
Jeff, you making any money?
Not yet.
Nothing at all?
We just started. We just launched today.
Oh, you just launched today?
Yeah.
I'm rarely speechless, but that has made me speechless. Jeff Fedor, thank you so much for appearing on TechCrunch TV.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Well, the music industry, as everybody knows, has been in dire straits, to excuse the pun. And there are a few people responsible for that. Sean Fanning and Sean Parker from Napster have a responsibility. The Grateful Dead have a responsibility for giving away their stuff for free. And I'm talking now to a guy who also shares a responsibility for the collapse of the music industry. Bram, should I call him Bram Stoker or Bram Cohen, the founder and chief scientist at BitTorrent. Bram, welcome to TechCrunch TV.
Good to be here.
So Bram, convince me that you haven't killed the music industry.
Well, the music industry seems to be thriving quite nicely. We're at this conference with a whole bunch of music people in it. The thing that's hurting is the traditional business model of the music industry, which was all based on making money off of the distribution channels. As far as the availability of music...
You mean selling their product?
Well, being the intermediary selling the product. It's not like most artists, it's not like most musicians got very well paid out of the whole thing. But if you look in terms of the amount of music being made and the general availability of it and the sheer diversity of it, there's more music than ever, and the industry is doing great. And there are plenty of musical acts that are doing quite well for themselves right now. They're just not primarily doing it by selling pieces of plastic that are getting people to come to their concerts and all that.
Well, Bram, this is an arguable position. I just interviewed the lead singer of a well-known group who argued that the artist was actually much worse off now than in the old days. Do you have data to prove your point?
There is data. I can't quote it off the top of my head, but
well, tell us where it is.
That's kind of an unfair question, isn't it?
Well, if you say it exists, where is it?
You want me to, like, cite medical journals?
No, I'm not interested in formal citations. I'm just curious where that data is.
There is data on the amount of money that's spent on entertainment across different things, including the music industry, and the total amount of money that's being spent hasn't particularly gone down.
So how would you explain the fact that the music industry has declined by about, in terms of recorded music sales, by about 50% in the last 15 years?
Because people are downloading lots of stuff for free. There's lots of bands are making their own stuff available for free. You can go to people's MySpace pages and now Facebook pages and listen to tracks of theirs all you want.
Would you accept that there's a connection between people buying less music legally and illegally downloading music?
You know, if you look at the numbers, the thing that's killing the whole album sales, when you move to digital, it's people just buy the single. It's the whole, you know, singles versus albums thing that, you know, singles sell albums. And this is a battle that goes way, way, way back, that there was this intentional thing of trying to not make singles available because it would get people to sell the whole album. And when people are buying stuff digitally, a lot of the drop in revenues there is just people just get the 1 or 2 tracks they actually
So
want.
you're saying that Steve Jobs killed the music industry by undoing the album?
Well,
He was the guy, of course, who did it.
I dispute your assertion that the music industry is getting killed, but definitely that is one thing that has happened. Although I personally think it's a little silly to view digital music as something that you sell. I think digital music is promotional material for the band that creates it.
Are you a musical artist?
No, I'm not.
Do you know many music artists?
Not too many professionals, no.
And the ones you know, would they agree with you that they're happy to give away their product for free?
Yeah.
I mean, for example, I'm being paid for this interview. I wouldn't do it for free.
You're being paid to give the interview.
No, I'm being paid to interview you.
Yes. You're not paying to watch the interview.
What's the difference?
There are plenty of ways to make money off of the things being done. Like, you know, when there's commercials being made, they pay for music for the commercials. You can look down on that as an art form. But people do get paid to produce commercials. People get paid lots of money to produce commercials.
So, leaving aside whether or not the music industry is in a healthy state, and I would accept the fact that it's in a healthier state today than it was a year or two ago, but I would strongly disagree that it's in a better state now than it was, say, 20 years ago. What does BitTorrent do? What's your business? What's your model?
Well, we make file distribution software. I would really, really like to work with a whole lot of content producers to help distribute their stuff online, because we can do that at very low cost with very, very high quality in terms of high video quality and lossless audio and things like that that are, I believe, really great things. And what I've been working on for a while is a new peer-to-peer live video protocol, so that the thing that people do on television, where there's something getting broadcast right now and everyone's watching it right now, and, you know, just a few seconds latency, can be done on the internet peer-to-peer. And there isn't, to date, any good technology for doing that, but I've created one.
Why, in your view, has BitTorrent become associated with piracy?
Well, because a lot of the old school content owners, just as a matter of policy, don't want to give us a good name. We can provide them with lots and lots of content savings, make lots and lots of extras and everything available at very low cost, but just as a matter of principle, they won't work with us. They want to keep things the way they have been for a very long time and not just make lots and lots of stuff available online.
So you're suggesting that you want to help the music industry, but it doesn't want to help itself?
There's certainly a lot of that going on, yeah.
Would you accept the fact, though, that many people do use your service to do illegal things?
Yeah, well, I tell them that's stupid and they shouldn't do it.
And what do they say?
I say this in interviews. I don't go telling them one at a time. We have a lot of users.
Well, now you have an opportunity. I'm sure that even in our very law-abiding TechCrunch audience, there are some people, those of you know who you are, who are illegally downloading music. Bram Cohen, the founder of BitTorrent, what do you say to those people, Bram?
Well, in general, pirating stuff is a very legally dangerous thing to do, and I tell people they really shouldn't do it.
And if they do, they should go to jail, they should be fined, they should get smack bottoms.
That's really not my fight. Everyone seems to expect me to be some kind of copyright evangelist. And it's not my fight. I'm a technologist. I build technology for doing things. And people, like, including you, especially right now, are being pretty hostile and trying to suck me into this policy thing about the way that copyright works right now. And I'm trying to build technology and use it. And people on one side are trying to stamp down the technology and blame me for technology moving forwards. And the other side are trying to suck me into legally dangerous things. And I'm just trying to move the world forward.
Okay, well, let's be a little more positive, Brian. You now have an opportunity to help the music industry rebuild itself. Not only do we have people doing naughty things watching this, but we also have a lot of music executives. What do they need to do, and how can they work with you?
Well, I think they need to embrace the future. Like, when the future is that everything is available, and digitally recorded stuff is not the product itself. The band that you create is the product. And you should, like, if you have a band that's touring, you should record every performance, you should make every performance available, you should stream them all live, you should make your stuff available on every music service that's available, you should have a homepage for your band with every sample track that you possibly can. You should try and engage your fans in as much of your music as they can possibly consume, so that then they'll come to your concerts and do other things.
Bram, my guess is that no one would disagree with you. I certainly wouldn't, and I know a lot of people in the business who aren't. But I have two questions for you. Firstly, how does BitTorrent fit into this new world of ubiquitous content? And secondly, and most importantly, how do you monetize it?
Well, we provide the plumbing to help move data, to keep the costs low on everything, so you can have massive files with very little infrastructure.
So that's your value, the plumbing. Mm-hmm. You're a plumbing company for this new world of ubiquitous content.
Yes.
And that plumbing is a euphemism for file sharing?
I don't think it's a euphemism at all. There's nothing wrong with peer-to-peer file distribution.
Well, I like plumbers. I've got nothing against plumbers either. You're a digital plumber, and you'll probably be as rich a plumber as most people are if you have your way. So how do you make money out of that?
We, as a company right now, are just pushing out a toolbar with our stuff. That's how we're making most of our money.
A toolbar?
Toolbar.
Meaning?
Just a toolbar that shows in your browser. So there's, it's a toolbar that appears in the browser and actually can control uTorrent from inside of it and things like that. And you can run web searches from it, and those monetize. So.
And where's the uptake, Bram? Are you building a viable business? Do you have a lot of clients in the traditional entertainment industry?
Well, we certainly have a viable business right now.
You're profitable?
Yeah.
How many people in the company?
We're up to around 70.
And where are you based?
San Francisco.
But do you need the support of the entertainment industry to become really viable?
I don't know what you mean by really viable.
Well, a profitable company, a long-term profit, to become the major plumber in this new ecosystem. See, I use ecosystem and plumbing all in one sentence.
Yeah, we want to work with everyone that we can, and you know, we have helped musical acts and other things.
So you're turning over a new leaf.
Well, it's not a new leaf. I mean, everyone likes writing that headline, but we've always...
You've always been good, Bram?
We've always been willing to work with anybody. It's just people don't want to work with us.
Well, Bram Cohen, you've done an excellent job representing yourself. and I hope you come back again to talk about how you are becoming the major plumber on today's internet. Bram Cohen, the founder of BitTorrent. Thank you so much for appearing on TechCrunch TV.
Thank you.
Excellent job. Good job. There are all sorts of ways of thinking about why the music industry is in crisis, or at least has been in crisis. Some people have even argued that one of the bands responsible for that crisis was the Grateful Dead, a cult band that gave, unlike most other popular bands in the history of music, gave a lot away of their music for free. That's arguable. But I'm lucky enough now to be talking to one of the original members of the Grateful Dead, Bob Weir.
Hiya.
Bob, thank you so much for coming on to TechCrunch TV. Well, Bob, you're coming back into the music industry. You have a new startup.
Well, I've never quite left the music industry. I've been playing ever since I was, well, not fully grown. But yeah, we have a startup. I don't know exactly how it happened. I was building a studio, and as I was building it, the studio kept telling me that I wanted to keep going with it. So I did. And right now what we have is a fairly complete studio facility. As as good an audio or video recording facility as you're going to find, I think. But it wasn't built for that purpose. It's built for the purpose of hopefully live music broadcast. Right now, we're broadcasting on the web. We do it's called the facility is called the Thermoplast Research Institute, or TRI Studios. And right now we broadcast live on the web when we get around to it, which is every week or two. We'll put on a show or a demo or something like that, and we broadcast in 720, which is pretty much as high a resolution in video as high as you can get over the web, and in audio, I don't know exactly what our specs are, but they're higher than CD quality. Right now it's in stereo, and we're waiting for the web to be able to present 5.1, because at that point we'll be able to you'll be able to have a band in your living room or at your desk if you have a surround sound system. You'll be able to be in the middle of a band.
Bob, what is your opinion on monetizing music in the internet age? John Perry Barlow, the guy who wrote your lyrics, you need me to tell you, the guy who wrote your lyrics, has always argued that information wants to be free.
I don't know what he knows, what he means by that.
Do you agree with him?
I don't know that I agree or disagree. I know this, that a musician's got to make a living. Yeah, and if he can't monetize the music he's making, then he's going to have to go back to bagging groceries or go back to law school or whatever.
And there has indeed been a struggle for musicians to make a living in the internet age. Is that fair?
I think it's safe to say, yeah, as always. I'm not sure that the internet age has made that much of a difference one way or the other, but it certainly hasn't made it easier for an artist to make a living.
So what you're doing is enabling artists to distribute their music digitally on the web and then sell their music, is that fair?
Well, they can distribute it using our facility. As far as selling it, we've tried pay-per-view, but people won't pay for anything they get from the web, at least not so far. If we can get...
Why not, do you think? Why won't people pay?
Because they're not used to it. If we can present something of such superior quality to what people can normally get for, and present it for a price that's more than reasonable and more than fair, but actually a bargain, I think people will start to pay for it.
So you think that the internet consumer is reformable?
We're going to see.
What else does it depend on? What needs to happen to make the internet consumer start paying for their music again?
Well, one thing that needs to happen is the quality of the music has to be...
Is this the quality of the actual music or the technological quality, the audio quality?
Both. The quality of the presentation, artistically, it has to be worth buying. And then Technically, it has to be worth buying. And when I say technically, I don't think it's going to be news to anyone that digital music, particularly MP3 music, is an assault on your nervous system. It raises your stress level. It's very difficult for your brain to reassemble what it's hearing through your ears and make sense out of it. And it's exhausting to your whole system, your nervous system in particular, but it saps your energy. That saps your brain saps your energy from your entire body just to assemble what it's hearing from an MP3 file. So nobody, I mean nobody, sits down and comprehensively listens to 20 minutes of music like they used to sit down and listen to a side of an LP.
I agree with you, Bob, although I'm a little bit of a reactionary myself, and I'm continually telling my 14-year-old that the quality of the MP3 tracks he listens to on his iPod are dreadful. And he turns around and tells me that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, that's because they don't know it.
But how are we going to convince these 14-year-olds that what they're listening to is shit?
Blindfold test. What you do is you put the same. What you have to do is get a turntable and a record or a tape. Tape is a real good medium too, and play the same program material, one or the other. Have your kids sit down and put on a blindfold and listen to the two, and not tell them which one is which, and their jaw will drop.
Bob, do you, as a member of the Grateful Dead, have any responsibility for this drop in the quality of audio? After all, you were the guys who allowed people to come to your concerts and record all your music on audio tape, which represented, at that point at least, a decline in standards.
Well, there was a decline in standards. It was audio tape, but it was analog audio tape, so the first generation was good. Then you added a layer of hiss when that was copied. Then another layer of hiss when that was copied. Another layer of hiss, and the dynamics of the music were down the line compressed. So by the time you got to the 6th or 7th copy of the tape, it was not real listenable. These digital tapes, they're exact replicas of what they've heard. But I mean, you can go to YouTube and hear any amount of music. We were, the Grateful Dead and bands of our ilk, of our era, were responsible for. We bought hook, line, and sinker this business about digital music when it first came out. I remember listening to my first digital record. It was a Rycuda record. It was excellent music, but I couldn't listen through the whole side. I wondered what was wrong with me. And still we kept on buying hook, line, and sinker this notion that, hey, there's no tape hiss. Listen, there's no tape hiss. Yeah, but it sounds horrible. Yeah, but there's no tape hiss. And nobody... Back in the late 80s, I finally started getting the notion that, hey, this stuff sounds tinny. There's something wrong. I don't like listening to it. So I had a friend of mine go down to the end of my driveway and open up my car doors. And I had a system in my car that would play CDs, and it would also play tapes. And I didn't play the same CD and tape. And switched back and forth between the two, and I backed off about 50 feet and listened. And he just switched back and forth, and it was really, really plainly evident that the quality of the CD was horrendous, and that the quality of the tape, it was intact when it got to my ears.
Bob, final question, a two-part question. What do you make of Jaron Lanier's argument that we're at the end of the cycle of creativity in popular music? And secondly, is there a connection between the end of the cycle and the decline in the quality of audio? You have to be brief here, but I'm sure you'll do a good job.
Not entirely.
Easy question.
Creativity is creativity. Shakti is Shakti, if you will, spirit. A spirit of a certain sort. And that's going to be there. And I don't think that culturally that we're going to see any end to creativity in in popular music. We may be at the end of a cycle in terms of what people will put up with in terms of the quality, technically, of what they'll listen to. And it's time for us to advance our standards and advance our technology in that case, because art deserves it.
Well, Bob Weir, legend in your own right, I want to thank you. It's been a real honor to have you on TechCrunch TV, and I hope we'll have you back soon to tell me how your solution to the aesthetic crisis in popular music is being resolved. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Great job. Thank you. It was good, yeah?